Hello everyone, I'm Katrina and today I'm going to be talking about the top 18 books I would like to read in 2018. I recently posted a video talking about my most anticipated releases of the year, and because I'm really looking forward to those, I'm likely to buy them and to read them this year. So in this video, I'm not going to be talking about any of the books I mentioned in that video. Instead, I would like to try and focus on the books I already have on my TBR, and the 18 books I'm going to be talking about today are the ones at the very top of my TBR pile. The first few books I'm going to be showing you today are sequels and the last books in series. A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury last year, especially loved Akamath. Oh my goodness, that book really did blow me away. I don't know why I haven't picked up the third one yet, but I don't want to wait too long before getting to the final book in the series because there's no real reason for it. I will forget details and then I'll just be kind of confused at the beginning of the book and wondering what's what again. So I'm going to make sure that I don't leave it several years before finishing this book. A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I first read A Darker Shade of Magic back when it came out and I reread it in 2017 so that I could finally finish the series. I didn't want to start A Gathering of Shadows without having reread the first book because, like I mentioned, forgetting details, and I just would have been hella confused starting this book. I'm so glad that I did because rereading A Darker Shade of Magic I realized I had forgotten a lot. There are also a few things that I remembered incorrectly as well, so very glad that I did reread it and not going to make the same mistake again. I will get into the second book very soon. Abortion by Garth Nix. This is the third book in the Old Kingdom series. I read the first two books, Sabriel and Lyriel, in 2017, and whilst a lot of the books in the series do jump around in time, so you're not always following the same characters, I believe that Abortion is a more direct continuation from Lyriel. We are following the same characters, so I don't want to wait a long time before getting to this one. Fire by Kristen Cashore. I read Graceling in 2012. Luckily, Fire is a companion to Graceling though. It's going to be in the same world and obviously there's going to be things that I have forgotten about the world, but I don't think it's going to be a huge deal because we are going to be following some different characters. When I get to Bitter Blue, I think that's going to be a bit of a problem because although the publication order was Graceling, Fire, Bitter Blue is more of a sequel to Graceling. It's set like 8 years after the events of Graceling, but following one of the characters we meet. So that will be interesting. But with Fire, I do think it is a little bit more separate from those two books. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just basing this on the fact that at the back there's like a teaser for Bitter Blue and it says, here's a taste of Bitter Blue, the sequel to Graceling and companion to Fire. So I think I understand what's going on with the series, but not 100% sure. I also have some Love Oz YA books as well. Gotta love those Aussie authors. This one is Whisper by Lynette Noni. The synopsis kind of sounds Shatter Me-esque as well, so if you're a fan of that series then maybe this will be up your alley. I just absolutely adore Lynette. She is the sweetest human ever, and when I heard she was coming out with a new book, I got so excited. And this one is separate from the Madoran Chronicles. It is entirely new. Remind Me How This Ends by Gabrielle Tozer. This is a contemporary novel and I don't read a lot of contemporary, but the few that I do pick up are usually ones that I've just heard so many great things about and I get really excited about those books and end up really enjoying them. I think it's also going to be the case for this one. I've heard fantastic things about it. I went to the launch for Remind Me How This Ends and met Gabrielle and she is so incredibly lovely, hilarious as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that translates into her writing too. But one of the enticing things about the story itself is that these two characters re-meet in a bookstore. I hope that a good portion of this book is set in a bookstore because that just sounds so appealing to me. Looking forward to it. Sounds lovely. Not sure if lovely is the right word. I think these characters have gone through some rough things, so it might be a little more intense at times. Speaking of contemporary, I have one other contemporary book on this list, and this is one that I'm really kicking myself about not having read already. I really should have, to be honest, and that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Certainly one of the most talked about books in 2017. This one is inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, so it is definitely a really important book, and it's just one that I think I will enjoy. I definitely think it's going to be a hard-hitting one, but more importantly, I do think this is a really imperative story that I just need to read. I think I will really benefit from reading this book, so I'm going to make sure that I read this in 2018 because, like I said, why have I not picked this up already? Like, I have no reason except for the fact that my TBR pile is out of control and it's hard to juggle it sometimes. The next book I'm going to be talking about is a very beloved book, and I'm really, really excited to read this one. It is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. The reason I have not picked up this duology yet is because I wanted to read the Grisha trilogy first. I picked up Shadow and Bone back when it came out, never got around to reading it, but then this duology came out and I just heard so many rave reviews about it, and when it came to the Grisha trilogy, I'd been hearing some kind of good things, but also some kind of things about the series. So I decided that I would read the Grisha trilogy first, then work my way up to Six of Crows, because I didn't want to read this book and then be disappointed in the Grisha trilogy if I read it afterwards. So that's the decision that I made, and I've read Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm. I do plan on buddy reading Ruin and Rising with my friend in the next few weeks, and after that happens, I can start Six of Crows. Also, this cover feels so cool. Like, I've never actually felt a cover with this texture before. I really like it. Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. Another one where I don't know why I haven't started reading this series yet. One of the things I'm most excited about this book is that I've heard it has fantastic female friendships, which is something that I love seeing in books. So that's one of the main things I'm looking forward to getting out of this book. Also, the story sounds really interesting to me. I like the idea of the magic system. I have quite high hopes for Truth Witch, but I'm really looking forward to it. Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groudon. I've been meaning to pick this book up ever since Amy Kaufman recommended it. Way before it came out, I think she got a really advanced copy of the book, and I still haven't read it. I'm sorry, Amy. And this book sounds like it is so up my alley. I really enjoy reading World War books. This is set after World War II, if Hitler had won, but add into the mix this motorcycle race, the winner of which is able to meet Hitler. So the main character decides to enter the race in order to win, and then kill Hitler. It just sounds so appealing to me. I'm shocked I haven't picked it up yet. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I have had this on my shelf for a couple of years now, and the reason why I'm really pushing myself to read it in 2018 is because Circe is coming out this year, also by Madeline Miller, and these aren't part of a series, not following any of the same characters or anything like that, but I've just, for some reason, told myself that I have to read this one before this. Couldn't tell you why. It is a completely arbitrary rule that I've given myself, but it's the way it's gonna be, I guess, and I would like to read this before it comes out, so gotta get onto it soon. Lincoln and the Bardo by George Saunders. This was the Man Booker Prize for 2017, and I work for Bloomsbury, who published Lincoln and the Bardo in Australia, and I've been wanting to read this since I first started working at Bloomsbury, when it had just been published and there was a lot of talk about it, and then George Saunders came over to Australia for Sydney Writers Festival. I got to meet him. He was so lovely. I'm also really intrigued by the story and the formatting of this book as well. It sounds really unique, but I just never got round to it. And then it won the Man Booker Prize, and working for Bloomsbury, I've been just seeing so many reviews, so much press about this book. It's just like I'm being hit over the head with this book. The world is telling me that I need to read it, and why have I not read it? And I don't have an answer. So it's about time that I get to this. The Arithmetist by Brandon Sanderson. I've been wanting to pick up another Brandon Sanderson book ever since I read Warbreaker a couple of years ago and fell in love with it. I originally picked that one up because I didn't realize it was a series at the time, so I'm eagerly awaiting the next book in that series, which probably isn't going to come for another couple of years. The reason why I haven't picked up any others is because I'm kind of intimidated, to be quite honest. Most of his books are quite large, they're a bit of a commitment, and I'm just not sure if I'm ready for that. So I've decided that The Arithmetist would be a good solution because it's not humongous. It's not scary looking. Who knows, maybe I'll read this and just start kicking myself, being like, you're being ridiculous. Why aren't you picking up another Brandon Sanderson book? Just start one of the series already. That being said, the next book I'm going to be talking about is huge. Granted, this is a standalone, but it is huge. This is 1,000 pages long. I'm just a walking contradiction, okay? I'll admit it. But that book is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I've been wanting to read this book ever since I saw Pat Rothfuss recommend it, I think maybe in a Facebook post a couple of years ago, and I was like, hey, if he liked it, then maybe I will. I just know that I love his series, The Kingkiller Chronicles. It's been on my radar ever since I saw his recommendation, and I finally picked it up. Haven't read it just yet, but my plan is to read it it during the next round of the Tome Topple Readathon, which is a readathon that I've been co-hosting. It was created by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. I really like the idea for this readathon. The main goal is to read books that are over 500 pages, and this doubles that, like 1,000. Oh my goodness. This is another arbitrary rule I've given myself. I just have this feeling that the right time to read this is going to be in the next Tome Topple Readathon. Couldn't tell you why, but I'm just going with it, going with the flow. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I did pick this one up around the time that the movie came out. I had been intrigued by the book before. I had kind of wanted to read it, but then when I heard that there was going to be a movie, I decided I would like to see the movie, but I wanted to read the book first. I've almost been spoiled for the story so many times, and if any of you in the comments spoil me, I'm coming for you. Might be best for me to avoid the comment section for a little while in case any of you decide to spoil me in spite of what I just said, but there's only so long I can continue without having the story ruined for me. So I've decided that 2018 is the year I'm going to finally read this, and then I can also watch the movie too. Terrier by Tamora Pierce. I read the Song of the Lioness Quartet and a couple of Tamora Pierce's other books back in my childhood and absolutely fell in love with all of the books that I read by her, and I've been wanting to read some more of her series and decided that this would be the next place I'm going to start. This is set in the same world as the Song of the Lioness Quartet, but I think it's set a few hundred years before the events in that series. I'm really looking forward to picking up another Tamora Pierce book, hoping I enjoy this as much as the Song of the Lioness Quartet. The last book that I'm going to be talking about in this video is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I first saw someone hauling this on Twitter. They posted a photo saying they just received it in the mail, one of the advanced copies, and I was really intrigued by it because it was such a cool cover. I was just fascinated. I was drawn in immediately. So when I received the book in the Page Habit box, I was so excited. And the really cool thing about the Page Habit books as well is that they come with annotations from the author. So while I'm reading this, I'll come across a page with a little post-it note that has some information about the story or the writing process, anything like that, which I think is such an interesting way to read and experience this book, having these extra little tidbits here and there. So that has me really excited to read this, as well as the fact that it's set in 18th century Egypt. I have never read a book set in Egypt before, and I'm really excited to see what this has to offer, especially in that respect. So those are the 18 books that I'm most looking forward to reading in 2018. Fingers crossed that I actually managed to prioritize them correctly and I read them all this year. Who knows how successful I will be. Like, all of the new releases coming out, I'm also looking forward to getting to, and just there's so many books I want to read all at once. It's a stressful feeling. I think I've got a pretty good year of reading ahead of me. Fingers crossed on that front as well. But that is all that I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to hear down in the comment section below what you are most looking forward to picking up in 2018. But I will see you very soon in a new video. Until then, I will talk to you all in the comments. Bye!